Hello and welcome back to America Reads. We are college students who create learning activities for kids. Our activities are focused in reading, writing, and math. Hi everyone, my name is Savannah, and in today's lesson we are going to be going over fables and folktales and their central morals, messages, and lessons that they're trying to teach. We're going to start today's lesson by going over the key terms and definitions. Then we're going to read over a fable, and we are going to look at a foldout of the beginning, middle, end points, and the central message. We're going to follow that pattern with one more story. Let's get started. A fable is a funny story that helps teach a lesson or teach morals. Next definition is folktale. A folktale is a story passed down generation to generation that may teach a lesson. Next we have the central message. The central message is the big idea of the story. Next we have the lesson. The lesson is what an author wants the reader to learn from the story. And lastly, we have the moral. The moral is in regards to English, and it is whatever lesson the author is trying to teach on how the reader should behave. Now that we have gone over the key terms, let's read the fable, The Two Birds, and see what the key points and lesson of this fable are. Let's begin. At the city zoo, there are all types of animals. Two of these special animals were emu and flamingo. They were both birds that lived at the zoo. The only problem was that emu and flamingo looked very different. Flamingo's feathers were bright pink. Emu's feathers were a dull gray. Emu never felt beautiful whenever Flamingo came around. She even started to avoid Flamingo, even though Flamingo never did anything wrong. One day, Flamingo suddenly realized that every time she walked near Emu, Emu walked away. She decided to confront Emu about this problem. Emu explained to Flamingo that her dull gray feathers made her feel ugly whenever Flamingo was around. Flamingo found this ridiculous. She told Emu that feathers weren't what made a bird special. She told Emu that it was what is on the inside that counts. She also mentioned that all the birds at the zoo were jealous of Emu's speed. For the first foldout, you can see that we have the beginning points. What do you think there is going to be for the beginning points before we open it? For the beginning points, we have that the story takes place at the city zoo, that there is an emu and a flamingo, and that they look very different. For the second foldout, we have the middle points. What do you think the middle points were before we open it? For the middle points, we have emu was avoiding flamingo. Flamingo did not do anything wrong, even though emu was avoiding her. So Flamingo decided to confront emu about the fact that emu was avoiding her. Lastly, we have the endpoints. What do you think the endpoints were before we open this? For the endpoints, we have Flamingo says what's on the inside is what matters, not their feather color. And Flamingo tells Emu that the animals are jealous of her speed. Were you able to guess right for beginning, middle, and end points? You could have also potentially added things that weren't on our list but were still correct. Now that we have gone over the main points, what do you think the central message of this video is going to be before we open the foldout? The central message of this story is that beauty is on the inside, not only the outside, and even if we don't think we are special, many others think we are. You did so amazing on the first fable. Let's move on to the next story, which is a folktale called King Midas. Let's begin reading. King Midas was a greedy man. He collected gold and even counted in his sleep. King Midas had a daughter, and she wished she could spend more time with her father, but she was always busy with his collections of gold. One day, a strange creature came to see the king. He was half man and half goat, and he was called a satyr. The king allowed the satyr to pick some of his fruit, and because of this, the satyr was very pleased. He he told the king that he could wish for anything he wanted and his wish would come true. Of course, the king wished for more gold. He asked the satyr to make everything he touched turn to gold. The wish was granted. Sure enough, everything that the king touched did turn to gold. The trouble was, when the king got hungry, he could not touch his food because it too became gold. The king began to feel worried, and his daughter came to see him. He was afraid to touch her in case she turned to gold. The king ran to find the satyr and begged him to take the spell away from him. He said he was sorry for being so greedy and that he had learned his lesson. The satyr told the king to bathe in the river. The king did as he was asked, and the spell was lifted. Immediately, the king ran to his daughter and hugged her. All of a sudden, he knew the meaning of happiness. Now that we have read this story, what do you think that the beginning points will be before we look at them? The beginning points are that we have a greedy king. His daughter misses him dearly, but he's always with his gold. The satyr creature visits, and the king gives him fruit, which made the satyr happy. And then he decided to grant the king a wish. Next, we have the middle points. What do you think the middle points are before we look at them? The middle points are that the king wishes for the golden touch, but now he can't eat or hug his daughter because he's nervous she'll turn to gold. Lastly, he begged the satyr to take the spell away. Lastly, what do you think our endpoints are going to be before we open it? For our endpoints, we have the king bathes in the river. After he bathes in the river, the spell is gone, and then he ran home because now he can hug his daughter. Lastly, he learned the true meaning of happiness. Able to guess right for the beginning, middle, and end points? Remember that you could have put things in the beginning, middle, and end points that we didn't have on here potentially today. Now that we have gone over the beginning, middle, and end points, what do you think the central message of this folktale is? The central message of this folktale is that money won't buy happiness, and being greedy gets you nowhere. What matters is the people we love and being able to spend time with them. For example, how the king was greedy with his gold, but he should have been appreciating the time he could spend with his daughter. Thank you for learning with us today. I hope you now feel comfortable with our key terms. I hope you also feel comfortable with being able to break down a story and identify the beginning, middle, and end points along with the central message, moral, or lesson that the story is trying to teach. Remember, feel free to watch this video as many times as you'd like, and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back next week with more videos.